Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa Siegel and I'm a professor of migration studies, and this is a channel about all things migration. And today we are continuing with our country series on Pakistan. So we do have a country series looking at countries all over the world, looking at the migration situations, histories, migration policies and governance there. So if you're interested, you can check out that whole playlist here. We are continuing right now with looking at the migration policy and governance situation in Pakistan today. If you're interested in the history, you can check out that other video. And if you're interested in the current migration situation in Pakistan, you can check out that video also over here. So let's jump right in and look at what are the key institutions for migration governance in Pakistan. So Pakistan does not have a coherent migration policy document kind of encompassing all types of migration and linking migration and development, but it does have several policy frameworks in place and a structured migration governance and management system. So for immigration in Pakistan, the Ministry of Interior plays the main role, and within this also the Directorate General for Immigration and Passports. There are a number of laws and rules governing the policy and procedures related to immigration in Pakistan, like the Pakistani Citizenship Act of 1951, the Naturalization Act of 1926, and the Pakistani Citizenship Rules of 1952. So a lot of these are also quite older laws that have continued. Now, as far as immigration is concerned, if you saw the previous videos, you know that Pakistan has a large number of immigrants who go abroad. There are also policies specifically to export labor to other countries, especially GCC or Gulf Cooperation countries. So the Bureau of Immigration and Overseas Employment was established in 1971, and it was established by combining like three federal government departments: the National Manpower Council, the Protectorate of Immigrants, and the Directorate of Seamen's Welfare under the directive of the government of Pakistan. The Bureau of Immigration and Overseas Employment started working under the Immigration Act of 1922 and 1959, and later they were replaced by the Immigration Ordinance and the 1979 rules. So this is just kind of the legal framework under which the Pakistani government is operating. Now, if we look at who the key institutions are within the migration governance, presently the BEOE is a department of the Ministry of Overseas Pakistanis and Human Resource Development, and or MOPHRD, so long acronym. The MOPHRD was established in 2013 as a result of the merging of the two earlier existing ministries. This was the Ministry of Overseas Pakistanis and the Ministry of Human Resources. So the Chief Commissionerate for Afghan refugees is also based in Islamabad and has a commissionerate in each province in Pakistan. They work under the Ministry of States and Frontier Regions. And it's in partnership with several international organizations, including the UNHCR, which works for the administration and management of the Afghan refugees, and others. So there are a lot of different international organizations that are working with the government on migration. Two of the more notable ones are the International Organization for Migration and UNHCR. IOM started working in Pakistan in 1981 because of the inflow of Afghan refugees. Its main programs include supporting activities for humanitarian response to the management of migration. In 1992, Pakistan actually signed to become a member state of IOM, and in 2000, Pakistan established a cooperation agreement with IOM. Now, UNHCR is also based in Pakistan, and its activities include the provision of humanitarian assistance to Afghan refugees and facilitating the voluntary repatriation of Afghan refugees to Afghanistan. There are, of course, a number of other international organizations that are also working in the country, for instance, the International Labour Organization and ICMPD, just to name a few, but of course, those are not the only ones. If we look now at international conventions and protocols, that were signed or not by Pakistan. Here you can see that they are not signatories to the Refugee Convention or the Refugee Protocol in 1967. Also not signatory to the ILO Migration for Employment Convention or the ILO Migrant Workers Convention. It is a signatory to the 1989 Convention on the Rights of the Child, but it's not a signatory to a number of other conventions, for instance, not to the UN Migrant Workers Convention. However, Pakistan has adopted both the Global Compact for Migration and the Global Compact on Refugees. Now, Pakistan has really put a lot of emphasis on labor exporting, and they have signed memorandums of understanding with and bilateral labor agreements with several countries. So they signed an MOU with Bahrain in 2014, with Italy in 2009, with Kuwait in 1995 first, and then revised it in 2013. They had an MOU signed with the Republic of Korea in 2006, with Libya in 2009, Malaysia in 2003, and Qatar they already signed an agreement with back in 1987 and then revised it in 2008, and with the UAE in 2006. Now, we can also see that the MOPHRD finalized for the first time a national immigration and welfare policy for overseas Pakistanis in 2020. So really a new development. And the objectives of this national immigration and welfare policy for overseas Pakistanis really included three main components. One is the promotion of safe, orderly, and regular migration. So we already see terminology coming up from the Global Compact. We see the protection and welfare of immigrant workers and their families, and the engagement of diaspora and reintegration of returning migrants. As I said before, Pakistan is not party to the 1951 Refugee Convention or the 1967 Protocol, but those who are seeking international protection are treated in accordance with the provisions of the Foreigners Act of 1946. And in general, Pakistan accepts the UNHCR decision to grant refugee status, and it allows asylum seekers and recognized refugees to stay in Pakistan until they find resettlement. So also in a lot of this has to do with the Afghan population in Pakistan. In 2007, the government of Pakistan issued the proof of registration cards, or the POR cards, for Afghan refugees. This POR card allowed Afghan refugees, legal but temporary residents in Pakistan, immunity from the application of the Foreigners Act and freedom of movement. And in July of 2013, the government agreed on a new national policy on Afghan refugees. But there is also no IDP policy or no policy on internally displaced persons in Pakistan. If you want to know more in general about forced migration and this different terminology, please check out my other video that specifically talks about forced migration there to give you a bit more background. Now, I hope that just gave you a quick overview of the migration policy and governance in Pakistan. You can see that immigration policy has been particularly important for the country, and there are a number of agencies that regulate and govern migration in the country, and that the main immigrants in the country are asylum seekers and refugees, especially from Afghanistan. Now, if you like this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, give us some comments below about how you have also dealt with migration. If you're from Pakistan, let us know how things are working for you, or maybe an Afghan who's lived in Pakistan before. We'd love to hear your comments and feedback. And otherwise, I hope to see you next time on the next video. Bye-bye.